Our favorite network is plummeting in free fall. This is obviously an outdated photo because Joy Reid no longer with the network, and that's kind of what we want to talk about next. This came out from the Daily Mail yesterday. Rachel Maddow's rant at MSNBC bosses backfires spectacularly as her ratings slump. If we could pull up the article, this is from the Daily Mail yesterday. Rachel Maddow's MSNBC show, MSNBC, that's what they should call it.
Misgender.
Suffered a 22% rating drop, losing 5 million viewers. Viewership declined from 2.3 million to 1.8 million since Trump's election, which is odd because everything I've ever learned about media is when it comes to 24-hour news channels, usually the network that has the opposing candidate in office has higher ratings. CNN, MSNBC goes up when a Republican's in office. Fox News goes up when a Democrat is in office. And we'll get into this in a minute, but Fox News just had their best month, I think, of all time. They're trouncing the ratings when it comes to MSNBC. But Rachel Maddow, she lost, and this is why this is important, she lost 29% of viewers aged 25 to 54.
That is crazy.
That's the youth vote. That's the only people. So you got to think, who right now watches cable news?
Liberal old people.
Okay, I agree with conservative old people too, but there's one common denominator on both sides.
Old people.
Old people.
Yeah.
Old people are the only people that are watching cable news, and now you're losing the sought-after, coveted younger audience because you want to have a younger audience so they'll grow with you. They'll continue to watch. She is down 29% of viewers, 25 to 54, which is a key demographic for advertisers. And I don't know why I said it like that. I said it like it was Avatar the movie. Advertisers. Here's a clip. Do you guys remember this? This is Rachel Maddow, very upset and accusing her bosses at MSNBC of almost racism after they fired Joy Reid and took the Reid out off air. This is what's actually behind this article, is how bad the ratings are doing and how mad the brass at MSNBC are because she's doing stunts like this. Kelly, could we play this clip?
An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Reid Out, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that. But that's what I think.
That's insane.
Well, did anyone ask?
It is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it.
Has she been fired yet?
No.
Well, it doesn't matter who replaces them. It's a form of racism, even if it's a black woman that replaces her, because one of the three people replacing the Joy Reid show is a black woman. I just have to double check something. Rachel Maddow, I thought she might have been a member of the tribe. She's not Jewish, but she's a lesbian. And I'm not saying this for any other reason other than, have you seen the movie called Le Placard? No.
Oh.
The French movie. Le Placard.
I actually have.
Like it's a great movie. It means the Le Placard in French means the closet, and it's about a guy who finds out he's going to get fired, and he's about to jump off a balcony, and his neighbor who spots him says, "Don't jump, come talk." He says, "Pretend to be gay, and that way they can never fire you." And so,
I'm gonna do that.
It's a great movie, a French movie, classic French movie. But like, it seems to me that Rachel Maddow is sort of building the argument that, all right, I'm going to feign some outrage and allege some racism to fire Joy Reid so that they can't fire her because she'll claim sexual discrimination if they do. It's a placard in real life, people.
I have to ask you guys, because you guys work for the company. David, in full transparency, everybody here has jobs other than this. Humberto is the head of the distribution department. Brandon is head of research. I don't know what internet. She does the internet.
He knows
you
my
come in
job.
and hang out with us because you're a good dude. Would any of us, I've worked in radio for 20 years before this, when in the radio industry, when you got fired, you disappeared. Like, they took you off the website, they took you off the air, they removed your promos, they put a new morning show in your place, and you were gone. I didn't understand that until it was very heartbreaking to watch, but I'm working in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 2008. It's my first radio job. I'm working for WYSP. It's the biggest rock station in Philly. Second biggest, which is part of the reason why we got fired. We weren't the first biggest, but it's my first job. I drop out of college for this. I'm an intern. I get hired onto the promotions department so that they have a reason to justify me driving 2.5 hours every morning all the way up to Philadelphia from Atlantic City, New Jersey. So they're like, hey, we'll pay you $8 an hour, but you can come in, work the morning show. We can't pay you for those hours, but then do promotions in the afternoon. And I'll never forget, we had a birthday show that was planned. We had celebrities from all over the country flying in. And the radio show gets fired the night before. And it was so difficult to watch because the next day, it was like the guy never existed. The entire show was fired. I was gone, and I was just a lowly intern. They rebranded all of the company vehicles. They had, like, you know how we have the Valuetainment truck that's wrapped? They already had it rewrapped with the new guy on the morning show. They rebranded the website. Everything was gone. And because social media, you were able to tell people, hey, I'm here. You can follow me on, my podcast, which at the time, if you went from radio, this is the craziest part. If you went from radio and you got fired to podcasting, you were a loser and you were going nowhere. Now, if you're on the radio and you're not podcasting, you're a loser and you're going nowhere. The table has flipped. But when they fired people, I learned very quickly, when you leave a company, if you're a company guy, you just ignore that even person ever worked there and you just go, yeah, I don't know. Well, here's the new show. Enjoy it. And so, to the three of you that work here, could you ever see yourselves taking a stance like this for another person that you worked with publicly on air, risking your job to back up or say nice things about someone that just got fired?
Not on air.
No.
On air is not the place to do because that's unfixable. Like, I mean, I could definitely see situations where like things would happen where I would say it to somebody in person privately, but not on air. That's like a really immature way to do it.
Humberto, would you ever badmouth your own company on the air after they let go a coworker that you have a relationship with?
Let me tell you about a few things about valuetainment. No, I'm joking. I mean, the thing is that this is a job, all right? This is a job. You need to be professional, all right? You can't be bad-mouthing your employer. Like, you can't. It's part of the thing. It's like if a doctor got mad and he just threw his scalpel inside the person, it's the same thing. You have a mandate here to, like if they're paying your salary and you're a company man, you need to, like, be professional. You can defend them, behind the camera, but saying something that will hurt the company you're working for, like for free, I think she's being crazy. And I think this is 3D chess. I think her ratings are so low, she was finding something to be relevant again. And this is perfect. It got us talking for the first time.
There's a few things, Ali, and we'll play a few of the comments. And I want to give you some stats on Rachel Maddow's latest contract, but Alicia, if you were close with someone here at the company, they end up getting fired for whatever reason or part ways, they take a different job. Would you ever publicly go on the air and badmouth the company or badmouth your bosses, social media, any of that?
No, but that's the thing. I feel like at Valuetainment, the place we work, like we all have the same feelings and values. So it's just like if you don't fit in, then it's not the place for you. And I would never go, since I run the social media department, so I can talk about you. But no, I would never go on camera and do such a thing.
I don't work here. I like everybody here, obviously. I did run my own law firm once upon a time, and you realize, like, being not successful, but having a functional business, it's like having a functional relationship or a functional marriage. When spouses disagree, you do it in private. When you start seeing one spouse talking badly or making fun of his other spouse or her spouse at parties and things are going south. I would expect her to be fired like the next day for that. Because it's not also just criticizing, oh, maybe it didn't make economic sense. She's calling them or suggesting her employers are racist and sexist. And I mean, that I would have expected her to be out the next day. But maybe she's going to say now, if I get fired, it's reprisal for me exercising my First Amendment rights, and so I'll have a claim for, abusive termination or something.
And MSNBC's in trouble. Right now, they are in the process of laying off 125 producers, many from Rachel Maddow's show, but they're going to rehire 110 of them. You know what that means? You were making this much, we can no longer afford to pay you, we're going to have to let you go, but we can rehire you at a lesser wage. Do you accept that deal? So they are cutting her staff, they're cutting how much they're getting paid, and Rachel Maddow herself just renegotiated her deal. She took a $5 million pay cut last year, reducing her salary from $30 million to $25 million. She has agreed. Now, this is what I did not know. We talked about this on PBD Podcast.
Yeah.
We thought she was still doing a 5-night-a-week show. She is not. She is only obligated via her contract to be on air Monday nights. That's it. Wow. She has agreed to work for the first 100 days and cover Trump's first 100 days in office. And then after that point, she'll go back to her once-a-week job that pays $25 million to make comments like this. Here she is. This is part of the reason why I think what you said is true. That she's saying these outlandish things to gain some sort of traction because the ratings are so bad that people may tune in. The problem is she's so unlikable that even people like me just go, yeah, this seems like an idiotic thing for her to say. It's par for the course. There's a difference between people they used to say this about Howard Stern. I know to the audience that's watching, you guys don't like him. I understand that. You have to understand, I grew up in a different day and age where Howard Stern was cool. Yeah. Like, he would do, Butt Bongo Fiesta. He was doing cool things to a 12 and 13-year-old kid that you're like, oh, this guy's got strippers on the radio? That's the coolest thing ever. I get that he is not everybody's cup of tea. There was a point where Howard Stern had people who hated his show watching or listening to the show more than people who liked it. That's a weird thing to hear, but the people that were opposed to it watched it more than the people that liked it because they constantly wanted to find out what he was going to say next so they'd have something to bitch about, almost like what we're doing with Rachel Maddow. Here is Rachel Maddow. The difference between those two, Rachel Maddow, not likable, Howard Stern, at least likable, entertaining, is off the cuff, has talent, whether you like him today or not. That's non-negotiable. He definitely has talent. Look at what he's done for the past 30 years. Rachel Maddow, that is to be debated. Here she is talking about DJ Daniel. You guys know the 13-year-old boy that survived cancer multiple times. It's a heartbreaking video to watch him talk about the 13 different brain surgeries that he's had and how he has different personalities after every time he's woken up. Like, what a tremendous thing that this guy has overcome and fought as a little kid. Trump honors him as an honorary United States Secret Service agent, and then Rachel Maddow decides to use that and actually try and accuse Trump. It's gaslighting of the highest degree. She accuses Trump of using that child's cancer as some sort of publicity stunt when she is the one that's actually using it as a publicity stunt to slam Trump. What did I almost called her?
Slant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's a new
Let's
word.
play this clip before I say anything else.
I tell you, publicity slut might be a good name for a lot of people out there.
For the record, and this is disgusting, the president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge. The Doge cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer.
Clutching at her proverbial pearls. Yeah.
Whoa.
And by the way, I want to comment. Ariel Vega in the chat said Anthony from Opie and Anthony was better. I don't disagree. Anthony could do a lot of voices. Howard never did voices other than his mother. Anthony Cumia is one of the most talented radio people there is today. He is also extremely racist. And you can see his postings and see that he does not like black people. So for me, I'm like, I like Howard just a little bit more. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, I forget what it was now, but Howard Stern, yeah, when he does his mother. And yeah, Private Parts was a great movie. Howard, it was purely the political falling off the edge of going the full, like, screw your rights. And
you have to understand, I was a daily listener. To this day, when I'm doing things around the house, yesterday I was literally moving stuff from my garage to my shed. It took 6 hours. I listened to
You're
old...
always doing that.
I know.
How many times have you done it? Stop it. Stop.
It almost sounds like I have a
Stop it right now.
compound.
Holy smokes.
So I'm out there for 6 hours yesterday. I got home at 5:30 after I dropped my rental car off from coming back from our remote location that we broadcast from. I was out until 11:45 at night last night working on this. I was listening to old episodes of the Howard Stern Show. But during the pandemic, it got to the point where I could no longer, to a guy I've listened to for hundreds of thousands of hours over the past 25 years, I had to cut it off with COVID because he was so scared to go outside. Then the Trump hating took over. Then the Biden praise took over. And I went, I can't identify with anything you're talking about anymore.
With the only reason we had XM radio in our car was that was the only thing I listened to pre-COVID. Back when he came to Quebec in 97, 98.
And they took him off the air
They
pretty
took him off
quick.
No, he gets in there and he goes live and he says, "You guys should be kissing my ass the way the French kissed the Nazis' ass." Like, this is in Quebec also. It's French-Canadian, not French from France. He was edgy. He was funny. He was insightful for a while. No more. $25 million a year? I mean, I thought she was less than that, but you understand what that is. They're buying a spokeswoman for Big Pharma. That her 2-minute plea to everybody to go get vaccinated, that probably paid off for her entire salary. You realize that these are paid actors who are out there as covers for pharma, as covers for big corporation, so they can just get that messaging out and secure that advertising money. But when they start losing it, she will be gone and forgotten in no time.
And you know a lot about advertising budgets. You know a lot about media. When it comes to how long and how far down do the ratings have to go before the big pharma decides to stop cutting the checks? Or is it worth it for them because there's still, it doesn't matter how few people are watching, there are people watching, and we have a budget that we can spend as much money as we want, so what's it matter if we spend it on her show?
Well, the thing is, campaigns and sponsorships, they can run the whole year, they can run 6 months, it could be something particular, like one campaign for like 2 or 3 weeks. But with the dips on the rating, it's not going to make any more sense. You know what I mean? And they're going to have, and that's a really good point. I was thinking about this because this in Fox News will never happen. You know, they will. Have you seen when they took people off the air at Fox News? And they were brutal about it. The way they took Tucker out. Tucker was
Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly. Tucker was at the top of the chain. Like he was making the money hand over fist. And one day to another, he got absolutely deleted. Nobody ever talked about Tucker ever again.
Do you remember his last monologue before he got taken off?
Yeah,
I think I remember.
Critical of, I believe it was critical
The
of Big
war?
Pharma. Well, the war as well, but I believe one of the last monologues was critical of Big Pharma. As good as he was for ratings, he was bad for criticizing Pharma.
And this brings everything together. Your point is right. Her real boss is Big Pharma. It's not MSNBC. Like, what can you say about that organization? They have no backbone. Like, I will fire her immediately.
Well, you almost have to ask if they have she has blackmail on them, because I mean, Pat brought that up in one of the shows the other day, and like we did the math on whether or not it makes sense for her to get that kind of money, and it doesn't. Like objectively,
it ended up making sense based on her broadcasting 5 days a week.
But you're saying she doesn't.
After the first 100 days, she's down to 1. So it goes back to what Pat said originally that day, which is, what does she know about what's going on at MSNBC that she's getting cut checks for $25 million a year for doing an hour's worth of work a week?
Right? Like, is there a better
That's
job in the whole
wild.
country of doing 1 hour of TV per week for $25 million?
Yeah, it came out the other day that there was Vanna White from they shoot like 30 hours, or they work 30 days of the entire year, and she makes a buttload of money for The Price is Right or Wheel of Fortune.
you realize
those are good gigs because not everybody hates you.
Right? Yeah,
And
the Wheel
it's
of Fortune
the same
guy.
money.
That Wheel of Fortune guy crushed it.
yeah, he
Pat
crushed
Sajak.
it.
Yes.
But to your point, like I had to make the phone call to pull the plug on a sponsorship. There was this show, something happened during the show. One of the hosts touched a woman inappropriately during the camera. The phone call came in the same day. Like the show went off the air, the phone came in, hey, we're cutting all ties. You obviously write the contract that you can always, get out of the contract. The phone call came immediately, like, I'm sorry, guys, we did some really good work the last 2 or 3 years, but this is not a good look, and we can't sponsor anymore. So they can have the phone call the same day. It doesn't really matter. And if she's not being pulled off the air or anything, this is going to have repercussions unless you're right.
You know, I have to call out Trump and RFK a little bit, because like, why is it they're afraid to make big pharma advertising illegal on TV like it is everywhere else? Why are they afraid to call out the pharma patents? Why is it they're afraid to There's one more.
Are
thing,
they
but
afraid, or have they just not done it yet?
They haven't even spoken about it, so that makes me assume that they're not going to do it.
Is it a top priority right now? So,
Yes.
Like for me, I think, okay, if you rank the things that are priorities to the American public, I think number one when Trump took over on January 20th was border. I think it was immediately stopping and protecting our country from foreign invaders, which at this point, there were people that were coming to this country for a better life. There's no question about that. There were also people that were let out of jails in third world countries and were provided routes to the United States and shown through the Red Cross and other NGO organizations how they could get not only into the United States, but then get benefits once they were in the United States. So there is a track record of them doing this. For me, is that the number one issue? I think border was one. I think economy was one.
Are drug prices important?
What?
Are drug prices important?
To me, okay, so
To everybody.
I'm not. I maybe to the vast majority. How many people here? Okay, I don't know if I can answer the question. How many people here got pills? That's not the question I'm going to ask. But I don't use pharmaceuticals, so for me, the price of drugs doesn't matter to me.
That goes into
my
healthcare,
kids aren't
though.
on them. My wife's not on them. Yes, the price of going to the doctor is atrocious, and it's a shame.
No, but I think also the changing of the policy in terms of forbidding or restricting advertising on air is a little bit more complicated and can't be tackled just overnight.
No, but you have to mention it to get the ball rolling.
Well, I mean, I think RFK did talk about it. I think it's what U.S. and New Zealand are the only two countries on earth where pharma advertises on air. But my sole observation: when you get a remuneration that is so disproportionately excessive to the value you add, you're not being paid for a job; you're being bought and owned for other reasons. So maybe the demographics of MSNBC are old farts. They're the ones who are consuming the medications, so maybe she as an investment still pays off.
And to Humberto's point, and then I have one more thing, and then we got to move on because we have 3 more stories and only 30 minutes left. One of the things, Humberto, working in radio, the only time that the outrage actually, the only time that people actually got laid off or got fired or there was some type of consequences for the things people were saying were the sponsors. When the sponsors pulled, just like you mentioned, that's when the advertisers pull the money out that's funding everybody, and they go, no more, we can't support this program anymore because of this song parody was deemed racist or this host touched a co-host inappropriately. When that money dries up, that's when the corporate takes notice and goes, okay, we got to make a change immediately. The money is not dried up yet. The ratings are down, but we don't know if the revenue is down. So if they're still getting paid despite how shitty the ratings are, she can go on and continue to say dumb things like what she said. And look at Nicole Wallace. So Rachel Maddow, not the only person whose ratings are down. Nicole Wallace, this came out earlier this month, March 7th from Fox News. MSNBC's Nicole Wallace has seen ratings plunge since Trump prevailed on Election Day. According to Fox News, okay, I'm assuming that they're reporting this accurately. Nicole Wallace's audience has dipped. It was an average of 1.6 million total viewers at the start of 2024 until Election Day after Trump's win. Her ratings dropped down even bigger than Rachel Maddow's. She lost 35% of her audience. She is now down from 1.6 million viewers to 1 million viewers. She has also had a huge drop in the target demographic of 25 to 54. That is what advertisers care about. She saw a decrease of 144,000 viewers in that ideal target demo. Kelly, could we play this clip? This is also another bad take on MSNBC. You've probably seen this clip before, but this is also Nicole Wallace taking shots at Donald Trump. And it looks like the 13-year-old cancer patient Donald Trump was honoring at the unofficial State of the Union address.
The Democrats, their reaction to President Trump's address last night is being called embarrassing, disgraceful, one of the ugliest displays of partisan politics in American history.
Agreed.
Listen to this. The night began with several Democrats turning their backs on the president.
Kelly, as much as I want to watch her, I don't know if this is the right clip. Could we go to the next slide? Let's see if the next slide has the clip.
She's the best.
Oh, there it is. We'll just play this. Oh, we went from so hot to so not. Here is Nicole Wallace bashing a 13-year-old cancer survivor.
Oh.
Boom.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ, and I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
I'm sorry. Oh, the seditious conspiracy. She's technically correct because they got the Proud Boys on that. Does that vocal fry and the way she talks make you want to puke?
Yeah,
Yes. She sounds tired.
Can we
like,
agree that if you're honoring a 13-year-old cancer survivor and you're talking about how great it is that they survived cancer, nowhere in that statement should the word "but" be at all. There should never be the word "but," because as soon as you say "but," it's going to discredit everything you said before that, and all we're going to pay attention to is what you said after that, which is an idiotic comment like that.
Rob, I'm not an emotional guy at all. All right, and I'm gonna let you in something. Brandon was streaming. I was watching the thing live, and then the kid comes up, and I started getting watery-eyed. I made some dumb joke to the wife, and I had to go to the bathroom. Because I couldn't hold it back. It was beautiful. The Secret Service guy hugging him, his dad, and then he went to the White House the next day, hugged Trump. It was super awkward, but I loved it. And what pieces of shit. I can't even, like, why? Why? That kid was so happy.
Gotta give a shout to this disgusting creature that's our congressional rep. Wasn't her name Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was like sitting there like looking mad when that happened, like in live time. So that's who's representing us right now. So that's why I have to run for Congress in a couple of years.
Here's Donald Trump. He was not too happy with the comments by either Nicole Wallace or Rachel Maddow. Here's what he had to say in response.
Worse than CNN is MSDNC, which is the worst. And the good news is very few people watch them anymore. They have lost such credibility. And frankly, what Nicole Wallace said, I've never been a fan of hers, and she's not very talented. What she said the other day about that young man is disgraceful. She should be forced to resign.
Agreed.
And Rachel Maddow should be forced to resign. Nobody watches her anyway. I don't know. It's not possible they pay her as much money as I hear, but certainly she's lost all credibility, both of them. But what they said the other day, they should be forced to resign about that young person who is suffering great.
I know it's politically incorrect to use the term bitch when it happens to be a woman who's the bitch behind this. There is nothing bitchier than what Nicole Wallace said. And you have to understand what she said. She basically said, what I wish this should happen to this kid. When someone says, I hope he doesn't grow up to take his own life and suffer the consequences of his own political support, what she's basically saying is, I hope it happens and he'll get what he deserves for having done what he did. It's the bitchiest thing anybody can possibly say. It's the David Mamet, every fear hides a wish. She wishes ill on that kid so that you can then say, look what you get for your political support. You 13-year-old cancer survivor.
Yeah, and put some serious energy into that too, to like think of that angle to take on that. Like, you see this happy thing that everybody should be objectively happy about, and you have to be really creative to think of a way to frame it in that way to make a negative spin on it.
And to Trump's point, nobody is watching MSNBC, and the stats show that because this is Fox News tooting their own horn. This is from February 25th. Fox News Channel has best February in network history, crushes both CNN and MSNBC. They averaged the largest audience in cable news history for the first 2 months of 2025. This is Fox News. Nearly 2 million total viewers per day. In comparison, the competition, not even close. They are at 638,000 viewers per day for MSNBC and only 433,000 viewers for CNN. All 838 highest-rated cable news shows that have aired since the election have been on Fox News. All 838. So you got to imagine, they're CNN and MSNBC, they're in 839th place. Yeah. That is an incredibly bad place to be in.
The numbers that you're listing, when they say they're down several million, is that per day views for the entire network?
The way they do it, like Nielsen does the ratings, all right? And you have 4 sweep months. Yeah, that's why the news are coming out right now. February is one of the sweep months. And then they do the averages. For example, in radio, they do seasons. They do spring, this and that. So it's an average of a month. Since they have the data for February, that's amount of view per month, unless they indicate something else. So So it's 1.6 million views on the in the month of February, if I'm correct.
1.6 million views in the month.
Per day.
Per day.
Per day.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
That still doesn't seem like that much.
No,
though.
not when you compare it to like Bongino's Rumble stream,
Right.
Crowder, Tim Pool. That's not very. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Back in the O'Reilly days, wasn't it way higher? Like when it was just cable TV?
Well, yeah, when there wasn't YouTube and podcasts and things for other people to go and consume, when it was only the news, yeah, I would assume. I don't know what the ratings are, but I would assume more people were watching. I know growing up, my parents always had Fox News on in the
Yeah.
house. I remember when Glenn Beck used to have his big chalkboard and
Right.
start drawing on the chalkboard. And for some reason, I don't know why, to this day, it made my dad emotional. It's really weird.
love
I've
that
only
guy,
seen my
Glenn.
dad cry twice in my life. The first, well, now he cries a lot because he's getting older, and every
Yeah.
time he says goodbye, it's more often. But the first time was when we put our dog Cujo down, and I was like 12 years old, and he was very upset about that. And then the other time was when Glenn Beck would get behind the chalkboard and start drawing, and my dad would just have tears running down his face and go, I don't get it. And to this day, I still don't get
Wow.
it.
I'm getting a tenth of the views of MSNBC and CNN. That's
So you
I'm
should
still,
be making a tenth of Rachel
so I should
Maddow.
be making $2.5 million. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't run
We
the
get a 10
numbers.
spot, buddy.
Yeah, I haven't run the numbers, but we posted about it. Remember, we have
Mm-hmm.
beaten them twice.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I mean,
wild.
it's wild on the one hand. It's good for the up and coming independent media, and it's the sign of the beginning of the end or the end of the end for legacy media.
Bet you
Not the
Pfizer's going to start
end.
reaching out to us to sponsor them.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.